Hey everybody, Roger here. I have a very special episode for you all. When I was at PAX West, I got to sit down with Z from Serenity Forge to talk about Fractured Blooms. And so, we talk about what the game is about, what inspired the game, a little bit about the thought process around developing the game. So give it a listen and let us know what you think. All right, enjoy. This episode of the Gamerheads Podcast is brought to you by Seven Bridges Premium Gourmet Yum Yum Sauce. Enhance every bite with our savory blends of flavors, perfect for meats, vegetables, and crispy treats. Whether you're dipping, drizzling, marinating, grilling, roasting, or snacking, Seven Bridges Yum Yum Sauce takes your culinary experience to the next level. Get yours today and make every meal a gourmet delight.
Hi, I'm Celia Schilling from Yacht Club Games.
Hey, this is James from Megacat Studios.
Hey folks, this is Matt, aka Stormageddon from Reignite and the Fun and Games Podcast.
This is Stephanie from the Boss Rush Podcast and the Boss Rush Network.
Hey, this is Mark and Keon from Bunte Avond.
Hey, this is Sebastian with the ProNerdReport.com and the Single Player Experience Podcast.
Hi, this is Chris.
Mike.
And Garrett from Daylight Basement Studio.
Hey, this is Baron J67 from Level 1 Gaming.
Hi, I'm Jacob McCourt from the Left Behind Game Club, Crossplay Conversations, and Video Game Trivia.
Hey, this is Todd Mitchell from Code Right Play.
Salutations, this is Mike Carroll from Stroll Art.
Hey, this is Jeff Moonen from Fun and Games Podcast.
What's good, y'all? This is Adam from Respawn Aimfire.
Hey, this is Patrick from the Backlog Odyssey.
Hey, this is Rune from Runic Codes.
Hi, this is Andrew from Spalato Bros.
Hi everyone, Jill Grote here from the Indie Informer.
Hello, this is the Crypt Master, and you're listening to Roger you're listening to Roger on the Gamerheads Podcast.
And I'm with Z, and I just got to play Fractured Bloom. So tell me about Fractured Bloom. Tell me a little bit about the game.
Yeah. Fractured Blooms is a farming sim, cooking sim, life sim that, after a little bit, it kind of starts turning into a psychological horror.
Yeah.
But also, on top of that, it actually continues to turn into something even beyond the horror elements.
Okay.
So, it's definitely a game that has a lot of layers. It has a lot of meaning, and it's something that's very deeply personal to me.
Okay. When you thought about this, like, these are two different genres.
Uh-huh.
How do you go about combining two different genres?
Right.
And because, like, farming sim, people like that.
Yep.
Psychological horror, people like that. But is there a diagram, like, where they both intersect? And what did you think about that?
Right. I mean, I would like to think so.
Yeah.
I grew up playing a lot of the old school horror games.
Okay.
Resident Evil, Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And if you look at like the early Resident Evil games, these games are all about resource management, right? Like you think about how there's the limited inventory spaces, the herbs, the bullets, the guns, right? Even the saves.
Yeah.
So overall, some of these older games are very much focused on resource management. So I'm a huge gardener myself.
Okay.
I love cooking.
Okay.
And when I look at my day-to-day and kind of managing your household chores, I realize that, that's not so different from resource management, right?
Yeah.
A lot of games like Stardew Valley, My Time at Portia, it's all about resource management. In fact, it's done very, very well. Farming sims are some of the best resource management experiences out there.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought to myself, well, if horror games work very well with resource management, why don't we bring in some good resource management gameplay systems and mechanics and kind of try that with the horror?
Yeah.
Especially in the space right now where horror games are kind of, changing to something else. I mean, we've seen this since Resident Evil 4, basically, horror games tend to be more and more action-based, more, bigger monsters, bigger gore and blood, bigger teeth, and, bigger zombies and bigger HP bar or damages, right? So let's try something else with the horror genre.
Yeah, I like that. Sound is a very important part of this game. Can you tell a little bit about the sound and the music and the overall experience that you're creating with the sound?
Yeah, absolutely. So you probably experienced that the game kind of starts off as something that seems like it's fairly simple, maybe a walking sim with a narrator, but then you get a little bit more narration that you probably bargained for.
Yes.
And through that experience, we started ramping up some of these other audio elements as well. we care a lot about the audio design. The story is very much told through this audio kind of experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the difference between what you're seeing and what you're hearing actually is how we are telling a more accurate version of the story to begin with. So a lot of this is, it's a part of it is gameplay, part of it is narrative. But a part of this is even, it's personal. One of the things about the game is that the game is inspired by true stories. Stories from my family. It's something that's very deeply personal to myself. And we want to be able to kind of express that in a unique audio-visual experience.
Yeah. The other element that I found interesting was, there's this collection where you have to go around and collect dirty laundry, and there's a timer, which adds stress to the whole thing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when we live our lives, as we get older especially, you probably recognize that you have limited time.
Yeah.
And not just like tonight, but like in all nights to come, right?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of day-to-day mentality, stories and emotions that I feel like it's often underrepresented in games. Games tend to go, let you be a hero, wield a sword, have an HP or stamina bar, but it doesn't really think about what are the other subtle horror elements that we have to live with. The existential dread that we live with. The fact that we recognize that we'll never have enough time to finish all the things that we want to do. Maybe write all the articles that you want to write, and review all the games that you want to. There's always stuff that you want to do before we don't get to do that anymore. So that type of emotion is what we want to channel. Fractured Blooms is a game that is really made for everyone. It's a game that has a very low barrier of entry, and it's a very inclusive game overall. We wanted to make this game in a way where you're able to find elements in the game that kind of brings you cozy experiences, and you're comforted by these kind of weird moments. But also very deeply unsettling in ways where you don't really see in games. It tickles your brain in places that you probably didn't even know existed.
I love that. Yeah, it takes like the mundane and makes it more something more than just doing the daily tasks. But I like how you said that you're limited time, right? And you still have things you have to do in your life. There's an element too in this game where the house is taking energy from Angie. Can you talk a little bit about that? And it's almost like the house has its own essence.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think the house, as you have noticed, changes. The player also perhaps changes with the house. Ultimately, it is one of these stories where things can be seen as abstract, but things are also quite tangible that's right in front of you that you have to deal with. I don't want to give away too much about the story, but one thing I can say for sure is that the house is definitely not what you think it is, and I can't wait for everyone to see more about it.
Okay. When are you planning for the release of the game? Do you have a timeline for this yet?
I mean, we're a pretty small team. Good things take time, so we're still working on it. The build that you played today, we actually we started only in February to make this game.
Wow.
It took about 2.5 months for 4 to 5 folks to kind of put this game together. We pared down the farming and the cooking quite a bit for event purposes. We didn't want to sit you here for 5 hours just playing. Exactly. So we're definitely going to be expanding a lot of that going forward for the final game. So with that context, you can kind of see it's a small, lean team. We're very fast. We're hoping to be able to share more about that information soon. We are probably going to be wrapping up this build and kind of giving it some final polish, releasing to the public in the near future here. So definitely look out for that. But for the final game, we'll need a little bit more time.
Yeah, that's really quick, by the way, to do this from February to now.
Well, we have a very skilled team. We've been doing this for a number of years.
It's really impressive how quickly. Well, thank you so much for your time and letting me play the game.
Absolutely.
I look forward to when it comes out.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time and really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.